Oh no. Where's the video? The video's supposed to be here. Oh. There we are. Oh, it's so dark. Sorry about that, folks. Let's just see if we can, oh, yeah. There we go. Fix that a little bit. Okay. Where am I? Where am I? Here I am. Sorry about that. I thought I had everything all set up, but I didn't. All right. Well, hello, and welcome back. I'm AJ O'Neill. This is Beyond Code Live, and what we're going to do is continue. This is now part 8 of the front end, the blog front end project. And what I need to do is fix, there was one more bug that we didn't have time to fix in the last segment. And then it's time to refactor, because right now, a lot of the code, let me just go ahead and bring this up real quick. What we got here. So a lot of the code is fairly well organized, but it's not really well separated either in the way that things are named or basically I want to have a post view object that handles all the post view type functions that uses the post model that is separate from the post model. I don't know that I'm quite ready to split the model from the controller because there's so little controller logic. Pretty much it's all either view logic or stuff that's pretty tightly model coupled. Anyway, but we do need to get to a point where things are just a little bit more separate. And so that's what we're going to be doing tonight. Also, I do have the comments open both on Twitch and on YouTube. I don't always check them in time, but I try to check them. So if you leave a comment and I don't get to it right away, just hang around for a second. I'll get to it. I don't have a little notification that goes off or anything. And I got to look over to the screen occasionally to remember to do that. All right. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get started. So first, let me demonstrate the bug that we have to deal with. I'm running the local version here. And the problem is that if I change the content, neither the title in the list view nor the summary are being updated. And they should be updated. At least they were being updated before. So I made some change before. I think I did a little tiny refactor where I moved a couple of functions from that were embedded in one function to another. And I think I just did the wrong thing. So that's what we're going to fix. And then we'll go into the refactor once everything is working. So actually, the alternate title that I may have already put on this episode by the time you're watching this was going to be Red, Green, Refactor. So we've still got one more red we need to turn green, and then we'll be ready to refactor. We've done a little bit of refactoring along the way. So let's see. What we do know is, so if I refresh the page right now, I'm getting the data back. So I know that the event is firing off to save everything. And I'm just going to put in some test content here. So we've got two things to work with. So if I go and I load this, it's pretty apparent that when I click new post, the function that causes the list to be redrawn is being redrawn. But it's not being redrawn when I click load draft. Actually, let me click new post again. Yeah. So we can see there, this one now got its name. So I think it's just that on key up, the event that's listening for when this changes is not including what causes this to redraw or the summary to change. I think also if we flip back and forth here, yeah, the summary updates as well. So the summary is either going, if the summary is defined, it's going to be whatever it was defined to be. So I could put foo down here, and if I go load something else, and then go back to it, we see foo stays there. But if there's nothing there, if we load something else and then go back to it, it just takes the first 155 characters about of the content. So I think this is going to be a pretty easy fix. Just didn't have quite enough time to explore it last time. So let's go to where we know that it's working and where we know that first, and then where we know that it's not working. So first, I'm going to look at new post. So new post, I believe, is calling create. So let me see, create equals. Here we go. So we're calling create and we're calling list. Let's see if list calls preview. I don't think it, oh, excuse me. I'm going to be yawning a little bit because it's a little bit later in the evening. It's not really that late yet. It's only 12 a.m. But for some reason, when I'm talking, when it's later, I tend to yawn. So sorry about that. When it's in the morning, I tend to swallow more. So just pick your poison, right? Okay. So the list is defined right here. And that's only updating the list. And we want to be updating the list kind of as we type for right now. At some point, we might want to refactor it so that it's more selective and it only updates just the thing that's being edited in the list. Or actually, maybe we can do that now, because anything that is being edited will be in the list. The question is, how do we select it? Anything that's being edited should also have a UUID associated with it. So that's something when we call create, let me get back to that. And then underscore creates right here. So one of the first things it does is it gives it a UUID, stores that as the current item, and then tries to load it, which load basically does some additional data, adds some additional data as well. We could possibly, actually, I think we might be duplicating this logic here. I think I might want to do this. Let me see real quick. Restore UUID to post. Okay, let's see what restore does. And restore either gets the UUID or creates it. Okay, so I think first of all, let's get rid of that poor logic construction. And I'm not sure if I'd like load to return back the UUID or the full item. It kind of feels like it should return the full item, but I don't know that I want to do that refactoring quite yet. I want to first stick to where the bug is. I've got a question here. Vaccines for Joggers says, do you know React? And not really. I did purchase the Kinsey Dodds course so that I could help. What my thought was to help a little bit with some people that I am leading to give some pointers and kind of evaluate the material. But no, I don't like React. And I find it seems to me that most people that are primarily backend don't like React. And I think the reason is that React is just not very, I think it's really geared towards people that are more deal in CSS and less deal in programming languages. That's, I think, maybe the right way to put it. Okay, so I'm going to load this. I guess I could just load this with nothing. I kind of want a way to indicate that it's nothing on purpose. It seems like maybe the empty string is the right way to do it. So I'm doing I like my stuff to be really lightweight. So I've been doing this project in vanilla JavaScript. One reason I don't think there's really much that you can't do. And excuse me, I said vanilla JavaScript. What I meant is DOM, because DOM is not part of JavaScript, no relation. People often conflate the two. Even me, when I'm speaking, I often conflate the two. DOM is a completely separate thing, but DOM is basically a plugin for JavaScript. It's one that the browser automatically inserts. You don't have to require it or do anything to load it. When you're in a browser, DOM gets loaded. It's written in C++, but you get these accessor methods in JavaScript. But anyway, with the way the DOM is now, it pretty much has every feature we've ever dreamed of, except for templates. As far as I know, I don't think templates have made it in. And so this is kind of an interesting project for me to see, kind of, do I run into any problems that I can't easily solve with the native DOM? And it's a very small project. Putting in React in something like this, I feel, is sad, because this should be lightweight and fast, both to develop and to run. And I think that putting a framework in a project that is this small is a mistake. Unless, you just want to do it to learn the framework, then by all means do it. But GitHub doesn't use a framework for their stuff. They just keep it light and simple. And I kind of want to do the same thing. But we'll see. I might run into some challenges where I wish I had something else. Anyway, so I want to be explicit that I didn't forget it. I'm passing in nothing. So I'm going to put this in for load so that it's explicit. I know it's a string. I'm not passing anything in on purpose. I'm going to get back current. But like I was saying, I think should load return the full post. So load is definitely a view related function. We're seeing it's doing all this stuff with the DOM. And this is not jQuery, by the way. This is just an alias of document.querySelector. Okay, we're going to preview the post. We're going to return the post. That's what load here returns. So now I'm a little bit confused. This almost looks like a bug right there. Load is current. That might be part of our bug. I don't know. Okay, post. It returns post. Do. Okay, then that would be that. I see what I'm doing here. So this should actually be current.uuid. That's okay. Let me make sure current is what it seems like it ought to be everywhere else. Because for some reason I was thinking current referred to, load. I'd gotten confused with myself. I was thinking current referred to the current UUID. It refers to the current post. So maybe because I myself got confused with that, maybe this deserves a better name, but I'll wait a little bit on that before I make that change, because I don't want to make too many changes at once. Just kind of note a little to do. I think I'll just put it right here, to do. Maybe current should have a more precise name, such as current post. I think that makes sense. Okay, so that's just a small reduction there. And what we want to have happen on load, I think is happening on load. Let's go take a look at load again. Here we go. So we restore it. This is very much a model operation, the restore. It only is dealing with the data and very light business logic. And we're loading everything onto the DOM where it needs to go. Not much in the way of logic here, it's just loading stuff. And then we're calling preview, which I almost wonder, shouldn't this go into preview instead? Let's see what preview is. Maybe preview, definitely a lot of these things I need to rename. So preview, let's say to do rename, let's see, content preview, raw content preview, raw preview, raw preview. That might be a better name for it. Or maybe, because what this is doing, and I think this needs to be separated as well. This is, depending on what the YAML is being expected for the blog system, it's being used. It's templating out the string, and the end result is, and it does have some view logic here, but I think we can move that. But basically, this is this preview down here of what is it going to look like when it goes to get posted to GitHub or Git. And then this is what the URL looks like, and this is just debug info. That's what's happening here in preview. Okay, So where is list being called? It's not being called on load, but we would like it to be called on load, or at least we would like the thing that's being loaded to be found in the list and make sure that it's up to date. I don't think we need to worry about that. Let's see, if the key up is updating it, I don't think we have to worry about it. So I think what we need is kind of an update row that will call on key up, that if the title changes, then we'll update this title in the table as well. I think that's where we need to go with this. Whoops. So the content is changing on key up, and we can pretty easily know if the title changed. So what we could do on, probably on restore, whoops, is we could have two titles that are attached to the post object. So I'm going to go down here to where that is. We could do post previous title is equal to post.title. And then what I can do in the save function, which is the onKeyUp function from the content, is I can see if the title is different from the previous title, update the title. I think that's what I'll do. Seems reasonable. So let's go to the save function now. And that's calling update. And here's our update function. And it's just calling store and preview. And then the preview was not calling list. So we want an update row with the post. And where should this change go? I gotta think about this for a second. Oh, also it looks like I might be running low on battery for my trackpad. Let me plug that in really quick. It just disconnected for no reason. All right. Yeah, something definitely isn't quite right about this logic. Maybe this should go here. If post dot previous title is not equal post dot title. And what we'll eventually need is a way to mark this thing dirty. So we'll need to keep track of the previous and the present. And the things that we'd look to see if they changed, the date's not going to change. We don't have any way to change that. The title can change, the content can change, and the summary can change. If any three of these changes, then we're going to redo the YAML and the preview. But right now, I think it really is just fine just to redo it on every key up. We don't have any performance issues with something this small. I kind of want to think about those things just as an exercise, but basically, you know, people aren't Ryan. People aren't generally going to create a megabyte blog post just to screw with the system and find out when it breaks. Because my buddy Ryan, of course, you know, he's a real jokester, and so I show him this, and he's like, "It's not working for me. It's broken." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Well, I copied a block of text and pasted it a bunch of times, copied that, then pasted it a bunch of times, copied that, then pasted it a bunch of times, and now all of a sudden it's really, really slow." You know, he's just goofing with me. But he does point out something that actually does have potential ramifications, that we do need to debounce the onKeyUp. Oh, Hello. Yes, lol Ryan. He's quite the character. At some point, I think he's going to come on one of these things. He's kind of self-deprecating, but then gets self-conscious at the same time. So, it, yeah, we'll see if he ever actually gets on. But he's a really funny guy. I find him funny. We have similar senses of humor. Anyway, so I need a function here that's going to update the row for the post. And I'm just going to prototype that out right here for right now, rather than creating a function for it. So let me think, what does this mean? Well, I think that it means that we're going to need to find the input that has a value that is equal to the UUID of the post. I think that will work. And then once we have that, I think that we're going to need to find inside of it, I think we have a span that represents this. Normally I use spans for places to template things because it just works really well. In this case, I don't. I probably should. I probably should create a span with a class JSUUID. That way I can select on it. But let me first find, okay, so here is the input of name UUID with the value of the UUID. So I think for clarity, what I'll do here, and I actually don't know if this is the right way to do it. I'm going to go test this in just a second. But I think the right way to do it is to have these selectors laid out in this fashion. I'm going to bring this over into the console so I can take a look at it. So what we should see here is that we get one. And then if let's do another one. If I do type equals hidden, okay, I still get it. Yeah, so this is the way, if you want to select attributes, this is the way to do it. And then just sanity check. I mean, I pretty much already confirmed that this is going to work. But just a sanity check. Let's say that I want to select something by its value. Do I do it? Yeah, it works perfectly. So this would be the right thing to do. And then what I need to do from there is I need to find its closest container element. Oops, closest. So what is it that we're using to contain this thing? I think it's a TR is kind of the closest container element. So let's say we're going to find the closest TR. Yeah, so that's going to give me the whole row. And then from that, I can then do another query selector, and then I could just find the H3, and then boom, there I am. I've traversed the DOM. Hey AJ, what are the prerequisites to follow along with your tutorials? You think that I have a stellar personality and a great smile? I kind of, unfortunately, don't have a really good structure. I sometimes I do things that are intended for a really beginner audience, and sometimes I'm just working on a problem that I need to solve. So I think you just kind of look at the title and say, hey, is this thing for me? But certainly, ask me questions, give me feedback. I do want to make things more beginner friendly, but I would say at this point, you would have to have some experience in coding, because I'm not doing just basic stuff. Hey, let's create an array, let's create a list. I do try to explain things, and if you catch me doing something that looks weird or unfamiliar, please jump in and ask me a question. So that's what I got for you right now. And do keep in mind that there's a 15-second delay on stuff, and also I'm not always looking over at this screen. I try to make a conscious effort to do it. And maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm going to try putting my headphones on, and then maybe if you type something, maybe it'll make a sound. But I haven't, yeah, I don't hear sound. And Golang stuff, yeah, what do you want to know about Golang? Talk to me. Are you interested in Golang? Do you do Golang? And I'm going to continue to do this over here. Let me just paste in what I just did there. And let's see, this is a little bit much. So what I'm going to go to is, let's say var row equals this bit right here, because I don't like it to be too long. And then we could say row. And then actually I can use this mabob again. And I could say, select the H3 from the row. It's just a little cleaner, easier to read, and do inner text equals post.title. And then we can say post.previous title is equal to post.title. Now that doesn't clean up the summary for us, but I think it gives us the pattern of how we ought to want to clean up the summary. And because this is doing this line break thing, I'm actually going to break this out a little bit smaller too. So we're going to do I'm going to maybe I'll do like that. TR. Easy enough to read still, or should I call it row and cell or something to be more explicit? I think I will. I think I'll call it cell and row, and I'll go check to see what you're saying there in just a second. And then row, sure, why not? Whoops. And to do put.js title on the title in a span on the title. And I've been thinking about how to do templating better, but I don't have a solution yet. I think through the course of this, I'll come up with one. Oh, yeah. That's a really good idea. Let me show the line numbers. So if I do set number here, thank you. Yeah, that'll be really good. Thank you. Great suggestion. I will actually, you know what I'm going to do right now? I'm going to quit out of this. I'm going to go into my vimrc, and I'm going to do, let's see, where should I do it? This seems like the right place to do it. Set number. That way it's on by default. It's just whenever I go to copy and paste, then I have to do set no number. And I tend to do that so often that I was just like, you know what? Why do I even have the line numbers on? They only benefit me on occasion. But yeah, doing pair programming, especially online, or even just over the shoulder, yeah, great idea. So yeah, I do a lot of JavaScript. I do a lot of Go. I end up doing more JavaScript than Go, just in general, but I prefer to do Go. It's just that, yeah. And you know, when you're doing stuff in the browser, it's your only option. I don't believe in using the phony languages that transpile to JavaScript because I think there's a lot of value in just being really well versed at the tools that are the tools for the environment and not trying to fight against them. And I see a lot of the stuff is most of what goes on in the JavaScript community is literally just fighting against JavaScript because people don't like JavaScript. And they're like, oh, I love JavaScript. No, you don't. You use TypeScript, or you use BabelScript, or you use ES 2047, which isn't going to come out for another 30 years, you know, whatever. It's like JavaScript is the stuff that runs in the browser. I do use some of the more advanced features if I really feel like they bring a lot of value to the table, but you can see I'm just using var here. And the reason for that is there's nothing that var doesn't do here. And var is very simple. It is probably the simplest variable declaration of all of the languages I've ever seen. It has one rule. Everything is function scope. There's no other scopes. It's just see a function, that's where it goes to. The end. And well, I guess the other thing is everything gets hoisted. So it's got one or two rules. And and then there's the exception, which is in a try-catch, a var is actually scoped to the try as well as to the function. So a var is scoped either to a function or to a try. But only if the catch executes, which that's just more of a bug in the language that stuck around than a feature, I would say. Okay, so anyway, let me get back to this. Now I just want to test and see, is this working? So let's go update this. Yeah, that did not work the way that I thought that it should work. Let's try that again. Hold on here. Okay, why is this one updating? What did I do wrong? So this should be, I'm going to console.log this. Maybe I'm definitely doing something wrong here. Because this should be selecting the current post, and these two posts should have unique UUIDs. So let me just double check here. Do they have unique UUIDs? Because there may be another bug in some logic that results in them not having unique UUIDs, which would be really weird, but could definitely happen. So we're at 1, 2. So we go into the second one and drill down a little bit. Okay, those definitely look like different UUIDs to me. And the closest row matching this input is this row. So let's see, what could be going wrong here? I wonder if this function is not selecting on this row. So that's another thing I'm going to take a look at. Let's put a console.log for this. And you know what? It's useless to put a console.log without putting some sort of label in front of it. By the way, I use console.log for debug things that I intend to remove. If I intend it to stay there, I use console.info or console.warn or console.error. Or if it's something that I flip a switch on, I only log it out if a debug option is enabled, then I use console.debug. But console.log is my signal to do chimney commits, meaning you burn the logs, you remove the logs. That's stuff that if I leave it in by accident, I know if I see .log, I know it was an accident that I left it in. It wasn't intentional. Okay, so we're going to take this and see what this selects, because I have a feeling that this function here may not be working as expected. It might be returning the first H3 that it finds rather than finding the H3 that is in this particular row. And so we will find that out shortly. And this would be the H3 that we're looking for. So let's go take a peekaboo at it. Let me load this one, do this. Okay, and wait, where'd my, oh, okay, UUID, ooh, okay. That's not actually as helpful as I was hoping for. Let's try this again. So what I should see is, what is the UUID that I got? Is that the correct one? And then I was actually hoping to get this in a way that I could more visibly see. Okay, so it's I mean, obviously it's selecting that one. What did I want to see? I wanted to see that it's also selecting the correct row. Let's put a little console.log in here. And we'll just do them all. We'll do cell, and I'll do cell. We'll do row and row. I'll just check everything real quick. But I think this is where the failure is happening. I don't think this is where the failure is happening. I think it's happening here. So I just need to look at that function and see. There's probably just a typo in it, or a misunderstanding of mine. Okay, so here we are. We got this one loaded. Okay, so there's the cell. So let's see, is it selecting, like, oh, it's not going to show me. The row is null. Huh. Okay. Oh, I see. That should be a TR. Duh. Simple typo. Simple typo. All right. Now let's try this. Ah, perfect. Excellent. You know, I wonder how I could improve this function. So this one right here, I think maybe it should be if this is defined. Now, how would you do it? Because it's kind of hard to tell the difference between optionally accepting 2 arguments and whether the second argument was left undefined on accident, as in the caller called it with 2 arguments, but one of them is undefined, versus they called it with 1 argument. Because if they call it with 1 argument, there's no error. It should select from the document forward. But if it's called with 2 arguments and the second argument is empty, then that's an indication that it's probably an error. But then you have to check the arguments list, and I don't know if I really want to do that. So I'm just going to let that sit for now. If this bites me again, then that would be a very good indicator that I need to revisit it. But for right now, this is all right. This is doing what it needs to do. Okay, so I fixed half the problem, and I could have fixed it in a simpler way. I could have just said, hey, anytime anything changes, redo everything. But that's not going to scale well as we move forward. And since I'm at the point where I'm about to refactor this and try to group things a little better anyway, I think I might as well take the time right now to, as I fix that bug, fix it in a way that will also scale. Okay. And then we need the summary to update as we, well, I want the summary to update as we go too. So if I change this, I want the summary to be changing as well up until the point that it doesn't change anymore. Or maybe I don't. Let me think about that for a second. Do I actually care if the summary is updated while they're typing? I don't know if I do. I kind of do. I kind of want that to be there. Okay, so let's handle that in the same way. Let's see where summary is set. Oh, except it's called description in the code, because that's what most of the blog systems in the YAML, they call it description. So I'm going to go here, and there's description length. Where's dot description? Dot description, length. Okay, if not description, I think this might be on load here. That's restore, close enough. All right, so we're updating the description on load, but I kind of want, let's see. When it's restored, it's always going to pass through this. So it's always going to get previous tile. It's always going to pass through this. It's always going to get description. So let's go ahead and do previous description here. And there we are. That'll be good. And eventually, I think I'm going to want to put, I think I'm going to want to do something like this. Previous is an object, because then I can just delete previous when this actually goes to save. I can omit it. Because right now that I've got previous on here, every time I save the post as JSON, the previous is going to go with it. But I do want to have it attached to the object, and I want to be managing two objects really, because I just think that's going to end up being a little bit more complicated. But it'd be pretty easy to say, okay, right before I save, get rid of previous. So maybe I'll just go ahead and make that change now. That seems like that's actually pretty simple, pretty reasonable. So let's go ahead and just, we'll just set both of those right here. Oops, don't need that semicolon. And then realistically, it might be best if I were to do the previous up towards the top and then add these in later rather than adding this in at the bottom. But for now, I'm just going to do it this way and we'll see how things go. But now I need to go to previous title, and this needs to be previous dot title. Same thing here. And then let me go to where we call set item. I'm going to look for, and I'm going to get rid of these now. I think it's pretty safe. Well, I'll wait until we do the refactor step, and then I'll get rid of those. Or I guess I can get rid of them now, like they're not being used anymore. So, yeah, I'll wait. Let's first fix the bug, then do refactor. Red, green, refactor. All right. Oh, actually, I don't have that problem because I'm enumerating these enumeratively. So I just have to remember when I add a new thing to put it on here. But I would like it to be such, as part of that refactor, I would like it to be such that anything that's on the post gets saved. That makes sense. And we have a previous or a meta object or something that are the things that don't get saved. I think that is very reasonable. But as it stands right now, I don't have to make a change to that particular bit. Okay. So then we want the description to update. Let me go back to where we have the description. Okay, this is if we call load. That one's where it's updating the length. Actually, it should be doing this. So this is where we're calling preview. And this is kind of crossing the streams a little bit because this is mostly what I would call model logic, but then there's some view logic in here. So when we do the refactor, I'm going to want to move that out, but I'm just going to leave that there for now. And I guess because this is where the logic is currently, this would be the right place to update it. The question is, when we do an update, I don't remember, are we calling preview? And we are calling preview. Okay. And it looks like it would be fine to do this before we store it. Of course, I don't think it actually matters if we do it before we store it or not. And yeah, this is definitely more view-like logic. So basically, I want to have two steps here. I'm going to have one step that does the preview for the content that I guess is still kind of viewish, but the stuff that does not relate to the DOM and the stuff that does relate to the DOM. I want two functions for that once we get into the refactor step. So I'll leave that there for now. And then let's see. I am, for right now, just going to repeat this logic right here. So let's do previous description is not equal to post.description. I was thinking about putting it in the other place, but I'm going to move that stuff out anyway. And wherever I move that out from, both of these are going to move into that place. Okay, can I talk about the dot underscore notation? Yeah, I totally can. So typically you do something like post dot say title equals foo. But you could just as easily do underscore. Underscore, there's a couple of characters that you might not think are counted as variable name characters, but they are. And among them, you have particularly $ and underscore are valid names for variables. So just like the letter T is valid, $ is valid, and underscore is valid. So post is an object. You can access a property of that object by putting dot. And then the underscore, what I typically use it for is to signify that this is something that is private or different from the other uses. And as I've been going along here, I've lost my consistency in that, which is part of what I'm going to fix when we get to the refactor step in just a minute. Because what I was using it for was things with underscore are more model type functions, and things without an underscore are more view type functions. Because what I want to expose to the HTML, which I'm going to go to this for just a second, I'm going to put a little to do and then a bunch of X's. This is when I need to switch tasks and I don't want to forget which task I'm on. That's what I do, because then I can find it really easily again if I get distracted, and I do get distracted. So let me go to where there's an on key up or something. So here, basically, I consider any of the functions that are accessed in the index.html, I think of them as being public or exported. If the HTML might want to use it or needs to know about it, then I want the post object that represents my view to not have an underscore in the name of that thing, unless it's experimental. If it's something that I want to, like, let's say this is a library that's public and I want to use it to try some things out, and I'm going to publish a version that has those things, but I don't want anybody else to use it or depend on it yet, I'll put an underscore. So underscore typically signifies this is private in JavaScript. It's signifying, hey, don't use this. And a double underscore often signifies really, really, please don't use this. So you'll see that in Node where there are private APIs. I don't know if they still exist like that anymore, but there would be private APIs where they'd put an underscore that's kind of like, hey, this is kind of an internal thing. You probably shouldn't use this. But then they put double underscores for like, no, this is really something that's probably going to change. They could change at any moment that really, 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 really should not rely on. And I see that kind of thing as well. Anyway. Does that answer the question? Go ahead and let me know if if you want to ask a clarifying question on that. Okay, so cell is already defined. Oh, right, because it's defined up here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and switch these to let because I don't want to get linter warnings. Yeah, I'm going to do that. I think that's the simplest solution here because let is scoped to if. And ultimately, I don't really want to use let in this code because I don't think that there's much in here that needs it. I use the modern features when I feel like I'm writing a lot of code that really benefits from them. But if I hardly have any of my code benefits from the ultra modern features, I'll just write plain vanilla ES5 JavaScript and work around those one or two instances. But for right now, I'm going to leave this here. Okay, and then we don't want to, we're not trying to grab the cell. Actually, I'm not going to need to use that because we're not going to be grabbing the cell. What we're going to be grabbing here is, we don't need to really grab much of anything. We're just going to grab the summary. So I don't remember what the summaries selector is. Name equals description. There we go. So we're going to grab text area, name equals description. And this is just a convention that I have. I like to put what type it is in front. If it's something that isn't likely to change. And with inputs, you typically don't change the type of input, or sometimes you do, but to me, this just gives it it's a little bit more description that helps me to remember what I was doing this for. Because if it just has the name, then sometimes I lose a little bit of the context. But when I see, oh, it's the text area description, I know that's the summary thing that we've been talking about. Yeah, sure. I'll have that kind of a moment. So anyway, inner text equals post.description. Yeah, I mean, this is the same thing that we just did. And then we're going to do post.previous.description equals post.description. Cool beans. All right, I feel pretty good about that. I don't need this here anymore. And then note, calculates length in preview. Description update. Well, actually, I don't think we need to worry about that because it's going to be calculating the length based on the description no matter what in the preview, if I remember correctly, what we just looked at. So let's go ahead and do this. Blah, 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 blah. No. Huh. Oh, and this also would actually introduce a bug because, this is a difficult one. This is a difficult one because of many things. I do need to move this code down into the preview. But, okay, so this could be in a state, the code that I wrote would overwrite the description, which is not what we want to do. Yeah, this is a little tricksy because almost what we have to do... This is a little bit tricksy. Let's see, where's description referenced here? So I try to explain what I meant by this is a little tricksy in just a minute. Let me get down to the pieces here. So if post is being updated, if not post description, we're going to get the description. So where's description being set from? Text area description. Okay. So I think this, again, we're kind of introducing more stuff that we're going to need to refactor. Because so here's the kind of the life cycle of this thing. We preload the description into post.description when this thing is loaded. So if the description changes, we're reading it back into here. So essentially, we need a dirty marker on this. We need to find out if the description is dirty, then we don't want, so even this thing right here might actually be wrong. If the description is dirty, then we don't want to change it. That means that they don't want the automatic description. They want the description that they wrote themselves. So I think what I need here first is var dirty equals, let's see, var new description, or let's say input description is this. Input description, we want to do a triple equals there. So if this is not the same, meaning they changed the text area input themselves, because the store happens before the preview, so we read from the text area before we write to the text area, and this all needs to be considered well when we get to the refactor step. Then we want to consider this to be so if at this stage when we read the input, if it's already different, then we know that it's dirty. So if it's dirty, we want it to stay the way that they intended it to stay. But then the problem with that is then if they don't change it the next time, we need to figure out what we calculate the description to be. This is where this gets a little bit messy. So I kind of want a quick fix here. Let's say post.previous.dirty. I don't know. Let's say I'm just going to work with this as simply and locally as I can right now. So we're going to have a post dirty description, and it's going to be equal to post dot dirty description, or let's say this way, if it's not a dirty description, then it's a dirty description if things changed. And then let's see, are we changing the description here? We're not really parsing the description. So I need some logic to parse the description. I need that to move, but I really just want that to be part of the refactor step. So let's see what I can do right now. Okay. Now I'm going to check again and say if the description isn't dirty, then we're going to copy over, I guess this would actually be, we're going to need some function to get the description out of the body. So, and then what I use is I use a capital letter for, it's kind of like a class-ish type of thing that I do. So if I have a bunch of people objects, I'll have a capital people or a person objects. I'll have a capital person object. And then I'll attach a bunch of static methods to that I pass the person object into that I'm interested in. And in this way, I have a good organizational structure for all of the functions that I use to deal with a person object. But everything remains JSON, which means that it can easily be serialized in and out of a database. It can easily be transmitted across a network. It doesn't maintain any state in the object. So I don't do object-oriented programming in JavaScript. I don't think that object-oriented programming is a good fit for JavaScript, not as a language, and also not in terms of the way that it's used in a browser and how it's got a lot of asynchronous events. Basically, wherever you're dealing with a lot of stuff that's asynchronous or that might need to be transferred between different systems over a network protocol very quickly, I don't think that lends itself to object-oriented very well. And so neither JavaScript nor Go are object-oriented languages in their very nature. And Rust, I don't think that that's object-oriented either. I think that all three of these languages, Go does have, one thing that's different about Go is that you do get to define almost like JavaScript prototypes, but they just kind of are magically associated with a person. So if I create a person, because the person is a person, it gets person methods, but it's not, it looks kind of like a class, but it's not quite the same thing. It flows philosophically, it feels more like what I'm describing here. Anyway, so rather than creating posts that have a get description method, I have my big post that has the get description method, and I pass in a post. So I never deal with this. So I don't have any of the thisness problems. Anyway, I don't have the get description written. Well, I do have it written, but I don't have it in a function yet. So I'm going to go do that now. I got to go find where I'm parsing out the description. And I think this is going to be it right here. So we're going to call this post.getDescription. I'm going to move it out. I'm just typing it here to kind of get a feel for where it belongs. And then we'll do post.description equals post.getDescription, post.description, oh, post. We'll just pass in post there because it needs to look at multiple things. And this is going to take a post. So we're going to move this function out now. I'm just going to put it somewhere kind of convenient. I think there was a get title or a parse title that I created. I should probably keep the naming system the same. Since I'm calling that parse title, I should probably also call this parse description. So I'm going to go update that right now. Get description is going to become parse description. And then if I had more than two of these that I had to replace, I would use a find and replace rather than retyping, but you know, it all depends on what level of effort you need to put into things. Okay, so that one makes sense. That's where I'm defining it. Let me double check. There's nothing else that is going on in here that we're doing funny. Now this looks good. Okay, so I actually don't want to, in this case, I want to get the description, but I don't want to assign it yet. So I need to be returning a description. And I think really what I might need to do, yeah, this looks right. Oops, there. Yes, I'm only using post to get the content. So maybe I could consider just passing in the content there rather than the post. But the way that I like to do this pattern is that the object or the function either accepts the whole object or the ID, not an enumeration of the object. just kind of for simplicity stylistically. Okay, so let me go check the other place that I'm doing this. So if the description isn't dirty, and really a better thing to call this would be, rather than dirty, that's not descriptive enough. Manual description. Or is description is manual? I'm going to leave it with dirty for now. That's not quite the right term. It's not quite descriptive enough. I'm going to leave it there for now. I'm going to reconsider it later. Let's make sure that this is working first. Okay. So here we go. That is different. And this is not working. Okay, let's see. Is this still working? That's still working. So on key up, we're not getting, something is wrong. We're either not getting to the place where I'm expecting us to be getting to. All right, let me review this again. Maybe my logic is wrong. Okay, so first of all, are we getting to store? I'm pretty sure that we are. I think we've already made that really clear, but just sanity check. Create is getting called, create calls create, and then calls list. No, create's not being called when save is being called. Okay, so let's go to save. So save is being called, save is calling update, and I might rename save to update, the higher level one. All right, and update is calling this, and then we're doing oh, whoops, wrong thing. Here we go. I also need to reorganize these in the file so that the things that are similar are closer to each other, or at least organized according to whether they're view logic or model logic. Okay, so we got the update. It calls store, and then it looks at previous title, and then it looks at preview. And store is what we were just in. And that's where we check to see, okay, is this dirty? I think the other thing that we need to look at is if post.description and not post.dirty. Because if there is no description, that doesn't count. That might solve our problem all on its own. So I would say this. Or even, I guess we could do it more simply in this way. Like that, if not post description, then regardless of what that says, dirty description is false. So let's see here. I feel like this is more clean. It actually executes more lines of code than necessary. It feels a little cleaner than doing that. I will go with that though. That's more explicit. Let's put a little bit of spacing here because there we're dealing with something different. And then here we're dealing with something different, and all of these lines are the same. So I'll keep the spacing like that. Okay, let's just check and see if that fixes the problem. So let me get rid of the description and then go here. No, nada. Okay, so let's console.log out. Is it dirty? And then what's the description? Because maybe it's just not updating. Let's see if that number updates. No, that number's not updating either. Okay. And then let's see what's the description. And then let's see what is the parsed description. So we can kind of get a sense for all of what's going on here. I think the other thing that might be happening is, I think maybe this should be input description. There we go. Input description. No? Yeah, let's see. Because if I delete, let's see what would happen. Let's think about this through the cycle. If the value is nothing here, and I check if post description, and there is a post description, and not dirty description, that might be where my problem is. Because it could be, as I'm deleting, it becomes dirty. And when I've deleted the last one, okay, so if not input description or not post description, which then would need, let's see. If input description and post description. Okay, this is where this starts to make a little bit more sense. Let's nest those. I don't like going nested, but occasionally it makes sense to do so. I think this logic is now more correct. So if we have an input description and a post description, if it's not a dirty description already, then we want to set the dirty description is equal to the post description is not equal to the input description. Else, I don't think we need the if anymore. If either one of those is empty, then it's not dirty. So we don't even need the if condition, because if this isn't true, then that must be true. All right. But anyway, we'll go through and we'll take a look at what all these values are. Just to be super clear and make sure that we understand what's going on. So new desk is this, or let's call it parsed. It's good enough for now. All right, refresh, and then what do we got here? All right, something's not working out. Okay, dirty is false. Okay. Description is blah. What about this? Now dirty is true. Okay, so I think it looks like the reading is working, the writing isn't happening. So I'm just going to comment these out for a second. And I guess I was thinking that in the preview it's writing it out, but this is the case where I need to refactor because I've started confusing my view and model logic. And so now I'm not able to reason about this properly, and I'm getting bugs because of it. This is one of the reasons that we refactor things out, is so that it's easier to reason about our code and think about where things are located. So I believe it was the preview is where there's a little bit of confusion. So I'm going to add some confusion to it so I can fix the bug, and then we're going to refactor. I might go to bed after this once we get the bugs fixed, and I might refactor it tomorrow. That might be a good tomorrow project, just because I don't want to stay up too late. I want to have a good productive work day tomorrow at work as well, you know. Anyway, so I think, let's see, all of this preview stuff looks pretty decent. Let's go ahead and just split this up a touch and then say that we're going to go ahead and grab the text area that is name equals description. And I'm going to go ahead and put some single quotes. I don't really know why I do this. I don't know why I prefer the double quotes to be in HTML. I'm pretty sure single quotes are going to work just fine if I did it that way, but I don't know. All right. So now that we add this, I think, I could be wrong, I think we're going to end up with the right thing. Let me go look at that parse description that we had again. There's a parse description. Where's the other one? So I had these logging out. And here's the funny thing, though. It seems like the numbers should be updating. Let me see if it is presently. Is the number updating? Okay, the number is updating. Yeah, so the number's updating. It's just that isn't updating. Okay, cool. And there's a slight bug in there. It's off by 1 unless I delete. Yeah, see, it's doing a little off by 1. Tricky there, but yeah, I'm not too worried about it right now. But it should not be off by 1. I don't know if I'm going to fix that right now. I might wait till after the refactor to fix that, because I think that's probably a result of, as I've been saying, some of the logic not being handled in the right place at the right time. So let's go ahead. I guess at this point, I think I'm ready to just refresh. And then, you know, looks good there. Do we get our title loaded? Oh, there's one other bug that I do want to fix, actually, which is the description should be a one-liner. I think that's right. If the description isn't on the first line, then the description isn't right. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So let's go ahead and do this. Put an article here. Wait. Put description here. That's interesting. Still having that bug. Why would we still be having that bug? Didn't I just tell it? All right, I'm going to undo these again. I'm going to put another one up top so I get some distinction between them, so I get a little bit more spacing. Okay, so we got the update. We do the store, which is where the description is going to get set. And then we do the preview, which is where the description is going to go back out. Did I set the wrong value? Let's go to where this is. Inner text. Indeed, I did. You should have pointed that out to me. Come on. What are you watching for if not to help out a little bit? You didn't see that there? Check. Yeah, no comments. Oh. What in the world? Blessed Siege says, I hope you are good. You were a millionaire in terms of your net worth, if I am not wrong. Well, I was a millionaire at one point, in fact. But I was a millionaire in funny money as part of owning a company. And not a millionaire in terms of money that I could cash out from the bank. All right, so this is lagging 1 behind. I wonder why that is. Why is it lagging 1 key behind? It sometimes lags 1 key behind. Is it lagging every other key behind? If so, let's see if the dirty is changing at all. No, dirty stays false. Okay. So dirty stays false the whole time. But yeah, I would be more interested to know what your question or comment means, because Blessed Siege, because I think I may have been misinterpreting a little bit. Maybe you're from a different area of the world, so I wasn't sure if you were cracking a joke or if you were paying me a compliment or what you were doing there with the comment about my net worth as a millionaire, or if you're a bot that's trying to trick millionaires onto your scammy website. I actually don't think that's the case based on the way that the comment in question or the comments are being made. But yeah, I would say that I am a really good programmer. Of course, I guess a lot of people would say that, but I'd say that because I subscribe to Zen. I don't think that Python is a great language to program in. I think it's a wonderful language to learn. But the best thing about Python is the Zen of Python, which embodies the ethos that I believe in very, very much. And I think that when you come to understand this and it resonates with you, I think that you are on the path to becoming a great developer. And you may notice that almost none of the popular people in front-end technologies seem to abide by these things because the front end is way overly complicated. But anyway, Google Zen of Python and check that out. Okay, so what could be the reason that we're lagging one character behind on the key up, but only sometimes? Whoops. Oh, interesting. Okay, that's not working out. So here, if I'm changing this, it's not letting me change it. Okay, so our dirty thing is definitely not working out. A dirty is true. So we want to change to the input. You know what? I think I've got a suspicion. I've got a suspicion that on key up is giving the value just prior to the change. But I thought that's what on key down gave you. I thought on key down gave you the value prior to the change, and on key up gave you the value after the change. I'm going to Google this real quick. On key up previous value. Get the previous value on a key up event. So key up, target, val, da 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 da. Let's see, what do people say? Okay, yeah, key down. But I'm not doing key down. Let me double check. Let's do a sanity check here, because I might have, in a drunken fury, used the key down event. No, on key up, post.save. So what might I be doing here? Let's go ahead and do a little console.log, because it seems that input description, let's see here, console.log, input description, yeah, if both of these if not dirty description. Oh, I never set dirty description to true. Wait, this should be setting it to true right here. So if dirty description is false, then set dirty description to true or false. It's going to set it to true unless these two things are equal. And they're definitely not equal if I'm editing them manually. Okay. Alrighty. So let's go back and take a look over here. Let me bring this to the fore, as it were. And all right, what happened there? I can't see. Okay, let's paste. All right. Parsed. Input description. Oh, and I put this slightly in the wrong place. I go ahead and move that up. But it's okay. I can work with this. Okay, input description. So why did the input description get reverted? That's my question. what is the state of dirty right here? If we have an input description, we have a post description, oh, wait, hold on, let me read this again. So if it's not dirty, then get it from here. Otherwise, if it is dirty, get it from here. Yep, that was it. I'm nearly sure of it. All right. That fixes that problem. Okay, that's kind of annoying if on the same, because I might want to just start over. But if I back up, then I immediately get rid of this. So I kind of want it to lag behind on one keystroke if it's empty. So how do we do that? Let me think about that for a second. But let's just see if the rest of this is working as expected right now. So how about this? So how odd is this? Look. And there it matches up. There was a key up and it didn't match. There was a key up and it did match. There's a key up and it didn't match. And another one and it did. Huh. That just seems kind of random. I wonder what's going on. Any ideas? Any thoughts? What is I'll spend another 5 minutes on this if I don't get it. We're just going to call it quits. And I'm going to go to bed and reapproach it. Maybe I'll have some time in the morning before I leave for the 9 to 5. Maybe I'll actually, let me just comment these out for now, because I may want to come back to them in a second. Okay. Well, actually, I think I still do want to look at them. All right, so let's get rid of all this. Let's get rid of all this. Let me clean these out and refresh, because I'm pretty sure. Oh, interesting. So it's not saving that last letter even at all. Now, why is that? There must be something I'm doing when I call the let's see, these are all false. Cool. I think I know what it is. Nope, maybe not. Okay. I'm gonna go look at where I'm doing the parse description, because I think that's where the fault is. I could be wrong, but let's just go ahead and take a look real quick. Let's see. Let's do something that's really easy to tell the difference of. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Really easy to tell the difference here. So input description before the change was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The description and the parsed. So maybe this is our problem. the input description and then the parse description. So we're checking to see if the input description is the same. All right, let's walk through this logic one more time. So I'm going to grab the input. The input is the old value. So if there's an input and there's a description and it's not been changed manually, which that's what dirty represents in this case, then has been changed manually is if the two are different. So at this point, they should be the same. Otherwise, we're going to reset it. So at this point, is it dirty? No, it's not dirty. So if it's not dirty, then the description should be equal to what we parse out. That makes sense. Okay. And then the parse description should be equal to what we just got out. So what we see here, both are correct. Oh, wait a minute. So the parsing is where something's going wrong. I think I've narrowed it down to that. Because if the one thing that we could do otherwise to confirm is to look at the post.content, which let's go look at that in parse description. So here we're slicing up to 152. So let's say that we're going to look at description. Which is interesting. Because at this point, have we already separated the content? Or has content not been updated yet? Let me go take a look at that. So where is content updated? I think that's our problem. Content is updated right here. Just order of operations. We need to move all of this stuff about the input after content has been updated. That's why we're off. Very simple. Okay. Oh, just blah, 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 blah is not defined. Of course it isn't. Because I can't type this word to save my life. Description. There we go. All right, let's go ahead and get rid of this one. What? Oh, cannot read property split of undefined in parse title. Interesting. We didn't have that problem before. Seems kind of strange that it would just suddenly arise. Parse title from text. Okay. Parse description. So where's parse title going? Where's text gone? Did I copy that into the wrong place? Maybe a little bit? I did. I did copy it into the wrong place a little bit. Okay. Understood. What am I doing? Skip the first character? Oh, first item in the array. Content equals, okay. Skip the first line of text, which was the title. There we go. That's better. All right, let's get rid of this guy. Okay, cool. Yo, yo, yo. Okay, cool. So this is good. This is at a point where I should burn the logs and then think around the problem of, is there a way that I could simply distinguish between when it's empty, letting it stay empty until the next event. Like basically, if the summary is what was changed to be empty, then I don't want it to get refilled on itself. I want to wait. And I think the easiest way to do that is to have a save, a save description function that's separate from the save function that behaves slightly differently. Okay, let me get this committed first, and then I'm going to think. I'm probably going to take like 30 seconds myself to think internally, so I can dedicate all of my energy to that internal thinking before I speak next, once I get this committed. Okay, so does this look right? I put a comment in there. Yeah, that looks good. This, I can't tell from here. Okay, that was in the preview function. That looks good. It's not in the right place, but it's okay. That we moved out to its own function. That's awesome. That ends up not, we don't need the, I think we ended up not needing previous dot description. Yeah, we never used that. So let me get rid of previous, let me get rid of description there. We don't need it. Oh, and it's still showing up because I didn't add that to the stashed version. So it's showing this, the currently stashed, or not stashed, cached, staged. All right, that function's in a good place. This moved to a better place, includes better logic. Yep, all good things, all things that I remember intending to do. Okay, yep. All right. So this is bugfix, title, and summary auto update again. I'm going to go ahead and push that. Feel good about it. Okay, now I need to take a moment to myself just to think internally, to think about what is the right, and then maybe I'll talk out loud, but I might talk gibberish because I'm just going to talk to myself completely and utterly. Okay, so hit the summary. If the summary is empty on load, I want to fill it. If the summary is empty because I just hit the backspace key, then I don't want to load it. But if the summary is empty and I change another field, I want to load it. So if it's empty and the change was that I made it empty, I want it to stay empty while I'm making the change there. That really does seem like the best thing to do, is to create a separate event, because what I'm trying to track is what field was the target. So I could also check to see what the target is, but then I'd have to keep track of the target and pass it through more areas of the code, and that would kind of dirty up the code, because then they've got concerns of going in the wrong places. So I think this does belong up in the view layer. It doesn't belong, I definitely don't want that information going down through controller logic or model logic. That's really kind of a view thing. I don't want to view the fire off the events. Okay, I've thought through it, and I am going to go with the approach that I had come to before of, and I do see your comment, of putting this really in the view layer, adding a little bit more view logic to handle this, because basically we were saying if the view has been the thing, if the summary is the view component that's empty, that is what we want to ignore, the change on. So I'd rather bring some of the model/controller logic up towards the view for one specific action than push it down, push this logic down further generically. Okay, Nick K asks, thoughts on using TypeScript and bundlers for real projects of this size? I'm not a big fan of TypeScript because I don't think it lends itself well to JavaScript. I think there are some benefits that you can. Here's the first thing: is it front end or is it back end? Right? If it's back end, then I would suggest that you use a language that is better suited if you want a typed language. Use Go. Go is an excellent language. If you've learned other languages, you can learn Go in a weekend. I mean, that's part of the slogan of Go, is that it's the pragmatic language you can learn in a weekend. And you really can. You can. Go is incredibly intuitive, right? So if you're on the back end and you've got the option of different languages, don't choose a crappy language that's shoehorned over top of an untyped language. Choose a good back-end language. So maybe you'd prefer Kotlin, maybe you'd prefer Go, but choose a better back-end language. Don't shoehorn TypeScript over top of JavaScript, because then use C# if that's the kind of torture you like to inflict upon yourself. But if it's the front end, it depends on what your goals are. If you really find that TypeScript helps you and you like TypeScript, I guess so. But if you just want it to be easy to understand the project and work on it, then no. Because anytime you introduce TypeScript or bundlers or any of that, the problem is that everybody's tools are a little bit different with this stuff, at least the way that I see it. Every framework is a little different, because you're not just going to use TypeScript. You're going to be using TypeScript with Vue or TypeScript with React or TypeScript with whatever X. And it's like a cancer, it just grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. And it's like, well, what did you want to do? I wanted to print hello world to the page. Okay, so how many minutes do I have to wait for Webpack to optimize the CSS before I can see the hello on the screen? And like, how many CPU cycles do the components have to re-render and adjust before I see the hello? So that's kind of where I sit with it. Is I don't like with Go, the tooling is all together and the build times are fast and everything is nice. With the front end tool chains, there's just too many different opinions and none of them are really good, and they're all slow and clunky and complex. And so that's why, if you're asking me from my personal bias, I'm going to say no. It makes it so much easier for me to go work in your code if all I have to do is just, edit something and then hit refresh, and somebody's going to say, oh, well, it could be even easier. You don't even have to hit refresh. I could, have live reload hooked into my bundler and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, yeah, I guess you could. I don't know. But for me, I like just simple stuff. I can rsync it over to a server if I want to test it out live on a server. I can edit it locally really easily. I don't have to have GitHub Actions set up, which I don't know if you've tried to use GitHub Actions, but it's a nightmare. But on that note, I will bless you with how to use GitHub Actions without drinking the Kool-Aid. So totally off topic, but I'm going to go ahead and give you this. I think that you will find it to be most useful, and this will make it into a blog post at some point, but right now it is here. So I'm putting this into the chat right now, both on Twitch and on YouTube. The question was asked on YouTube, and I'm going to put it into the comments on the video, except I don't have access to the comments on the video right now for some reason. I guess it only allows chat while the video's going, or maybe my window was too small and the comments didn't load. Anyway, if somebody wants to post that in the comments on YouTube that I just put in the chat, that'd be awesome. Thank you very much. Also, a gentle reminder, if at any point you found any of this stuff useful or you've liked it, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. That helps out the channel. And then you can look in the doobly-doo if you want to check out the other stuff I've got going on. Had a problem with GitHub Actions today where it wouldn't run because of a branch with the same name as my release or something. I'm not familiar with that one. But I'm going to, feel free to ask me another question. I'm going to go back and explore this problem again, because I do want to get this wrapped up and get to bed maybe before 2 a.m. I am a night owl, but man, I end up oscillating, and usually one night a week I pull an all-nighter, and it's just tough because night is when that's when I really experience my personal zen. But then that's not the way the world works, so I just end up bouncing back and forth, and I've got some habits that I think are helping me be a little bit more healthy in general, but I know that that's something that impacts my health negatively when I let it get too out of control. And lately, I've been getting it get a little too out of control. Anyway, let me go to the description here, and this is something that I originally was setting up just so that it could keep track of the number of lines or number of characters. I wanted to do that tracking in the description itself, but I ended up not going that direction, and I took this back to the save. But I think I'm going to change this from save to update description. Or maybe I could say, you know, update and then give it the description. Let's see, name, key, description. This might be a hasty abstraction. It's certainly not a particularly harmful one. But update description feels a little clunky because, well, what if I want to update something else, which I probably will want to update something else singularly at some point. Although I don't know what, because there's only 3 inputs on the page. And this feels like a little bit of an abstraction that's maybe unnecessary, but I feel like it looks a little cleaner. I kind of like this, maybe say patch. There we go, post.patch. I like that. Now I feel good about it. Semantically, I like it. So we're going to say we're just looking to update the description. And maybe I don't even need that because the name is unto itself what it is. Might be a little too magical. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to try it out. I'm going to see how I like it. Most of my front-end projects are very experimental. And I end up doing every front-end project a little bit differently. I'm trying to find some... Oh, I don't want to put that there. Something that I feel better about using generically, but I like Vue all right, but I think it's becoming way too complex like React is. I think React is insanely complex. And they're changing it for a good reason because they need to simplify things and they find new problems. There's no magic bullet for this stuff, you know? Everything's always going to have some level of problem because we're imperfect humans and we can't create perfect systems. And it's a little bit of hubris or arrogance to think that we can devise perfect systems, especially, and this is going on like a quasi-philosophical religious rant at this point, but as human beings, we invent logic to describe the universe. The universe is not necessarily logical, but we are able to invent logic that describes it well enough to approximate things like traveling to the moon. But 1 + 1 is not equal to 1. Because there are no 2 things in the universe that are precisely the same, unless you're talking about groups of silica atoms, in which case I might agree, for all measurable intents and purposes, 2 silica atoms at the same temperature are the same. Let's see. Yeah, definitely got off on that. No. All right, can we do this? So if description is equal to the key, okay. Yeah, I'm just say if not console.error or warn. Didn't think this through. And return. There we go. In which case, yeah, I will still leave that there. All right, so if the description is the only thing that is changing, then if no, then it would be if, maybe this logic is so specific to the description that it should have just been patch description. I'm going to go with it for now. It's not too bad. So this is text area. The one downside to doing it like this, even though it gives me more context and readability, sometimes I forget if I change it to it. Say, oh, this doesn't need to be a text area. This is only ever going to be one line long, and change it to an input. Then I forget to go and update these things. Ooh, we're having a thunderstorm outside. I like the sound of the rain. It makes me feel calm. Thunderstorms I find incredibly soothing most of the time. I think it has something to do with the differential in the air pressure. It actually does make you feel more calm. So, oh, I don't need to do this because I can just do ev.target, ev.target dot value. There we go. Yeah. So if not ev.target.value, then let's see, what do we want to have change? I think the thing that we want to have change is we do want to update post dot description, whoops, lowercase post dot current dot description is equal to nothing. But then what happens downstream of that? Input's nothing, that thing's nothing. Then it's going to result in, okay, because it's almost like I have to ignore this particular event. I need to go patch a value, I guess is basically what I need to do, because it still needs to be stored. It still needs to be saved that this is the current state of the application. But how do I prevent it from triggering the replacement? Because it's going to see, oh, well, this is now empty. So because it's empty, I think this should work. Because let's say the person leaves the page and comes back to the page. If the description is empty, I do need to save it though. That's what I need to do. So let's see what else update does. So update is going to call store, which we do want to do, I think. Let me go back here. Where's my patch? Whoops. So I don't think we want to call update. I think we want to call store on the current, which I'm going to go check in store real quick. Is this where I'm doing all that hoopla? Because basically I just don't need to update that one field. That's the only thing that I really need to be concerned about, is that I don't update that field. And we are doing the dirty checking here. So what's going to happen in the dirty checking? So it's going to read the input is blank. It's going to read the description is blank. So that condition is going to fail, so it's going to say it's false. And so then internally, it's going to reset the description to the parse description. So the user won't see it visually. They'll have the opportunity to type something in. And then when they go to type it in, then when this gets read, the input description will exist and the description will exist. And the description won't be dirty because it will have failed that check last time. And then they're not going to be the same. So everything should work doing this. I think that's a fairly elegant solution. So could I make this generic? Let me think about that. Would it be fair to do, say, like this? That will work in this particular case. Will that work generically? I think it might. I don't think that patch is quite the right name here because it still is going to end up storing everything. Okay, so if Okay, so if there is no value, then set the empty value and do what you need to do. Otherwise, run the full update, which the update will set the value and then preview it. So basically, with the patch, we're just skipping the preview step. Other than that, everything else is running. So it's kind of a misnomer. I don't know a better name for it right now. But I think that this can work reasonably. I don't think I need anything else, and I think it could, and we'll see. Example. If the description is empty, let the user have a chance to fill in the blank, despite the fact that we set the default value and just skip showing it. So description can't be empty. It's got to be something. Plus you could let Google pick the description for you technically, because if you don't put a description, Google's going to try to find the relevant thing and then display it. But they also do that anyway. If your search term is specific, they're going to give you the snippet from that paragraph, not the description. So it's kind of a wash. You should fill out the description. Okay. Let me check and see, are there any other comments here? It's haven't checked in a bit. Okay, no new comments. All right. Well then, I think I've got that. Let me do a little git diff real quick. I put in the patch function. That's all I put in, right? Yeah, just those two things. So really clean in terms of not a lot of code change. So I like that about it for sure. And then let's just go kind of check this out. If I delete, yeah, I get to delete. This is good. This is what I want. I want a chance to delete. Hey, this is great. All right, and that should still run everything normally if I do it otherwise. So let's go back here. And that one's what I expect it to be. Let's go back here. Hey, this is great. I get rid of it. I go back here and here. Everything's filled out. I get rid of it. I go back to typing. Yeah, this works as expected. So this functionality is complete. Another nit that I have is getting rid of all the extra spacing up here. Maybe I'll take a second to try to fix that really quick. Let's see if I can nix the nit. My blog system. So I kind of just want to say, yeah, let's move that into, it's the header. I think the way that this is laid out semantically, it's all right. Bliss. So my real goal is to make blogging as easy as tweeting, but I think gist captures the mind better. So internally, I want to make it as easy to blog as it is to tweet. But the way that I want to represent that is that tweets do not have the features that Gist has. Gist is kind of the perfect easy blogging platform aside from the things I mentioned in the first video about, the branding and all that stuff, right? So what do you think? Is this a good slogan for it? Blog as easy as Gist. Bliss, easy as Gist. Blog, easy as Gist. I don't know. Doesn't matter. I think we just need to get rid of this because I don't like having all that fluff there because, all killer, no filler. But I also don't think that looks as good. I really don't. And let me just see if I could just get rid of it. What happens? just because I'm kind of interested to see if the spacing changes. No, the spacing doesn't change. It just makes the spacing look more awkward. You notice the awkwardness a bit more. So what I'm going to do next then is I actually had in my to-dos, this will be really quick and simple. I need to change these two things. So let's go into the index.html. Let's find out I have the style somewhere. Yeah, I've got my style right there. So I'm just going to override this a little bit. Let's say nav. I don't remember what the value was that I found that I liked. I should have documented that. And then is it header inside of nav or just header? I don't remember. We'll find out momentarily. But yeah, we just do this and quite a bit nicer there. Quite a bit nicer. So margin bottom, header, padding top is 0. So what is all this empty space right here? Because that might be just a touch too much. Yeah, so both, I guess, is this, let me widen this out. I think this might be, I always get confused between margin and padding. Text align, header, display block. I don't know. Okay, does it show me which is which? Okay, do any of y'all know? Are we looking at the blue right here? Is the blue margin and the yellow padding? Because padding is out from the elements as text, and then margin is out past the text, right? I think. I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out why computed. Oh, okay. Does this tell us? Is that okay? So padding is 16, and border and margin. So padding is 48 on the bottom. Interestingly, I don't see that here. Oh, padding. 3 rem. I really, if you know of an excellent CSS course that's concise and is something that somebody that's a little more experienced could digest very quickly without a lot of fluff to it, I would love to get on top of the game when it comes to that, because that is an area where it was really, really bad in my day, and now things are so much better that it sounds like you don't really need a framework or anything. If you actually just learn CSS the way that it works in browsers, you could probably do everything you need except for the nesting of class-like structures is not quite there. But if you know anything about that, I would love to have a recommendation, because I think that it'd be great to get some more to get some concise formal training. I would be happy to pay $200 or so for something that's just really geared towards people that want the download, to understand what's rem, what's em, why are they different, what's the new way to do the models, and cover not just the silly things but the really practical things. Like if I have a list of something, the margin of the first item and the last item, they need to be different on the left for the first and the right for the last, because we don't want the size of the apparent size of the container to change for the grid and stuff like that. I would love it if you got any resources. Okay, so I'm just looking at this again to see, okay, this header is now a lot thinner, which means now my main, yeah, so it's my main padding. And I've got a buddy who did an excellent presentation, which I wish that he could create a course. I'm just going to find this real quick on YouTube. I think it's on the Utah, let me search Utah Node JS, which kind of an odd one for Utah Node, but I think this is where he gave it. Let's do Utah Node JS here. take a look at the videos the right way. Oh no. Did we not get that video? Ooh, I'm going to have to look for... I could have sworn that I tweeted it though. Maybe this is not sorting by... Yeah, date added newest. Okay, finding work, Q&A chatter, async await done right, auth 0. Okay, I'm going to check and see if I maybe I posted it to my personal channel. I could have sworn that I shared this with people, but maybe I'll have to find it, because he does a video where he talks about a way to do padding and margin that really made sense to me. It really clicked. I can't regurgitate it, but because I haven't practiced it really. Let's see, videos. Oh man, his name is Corey Brown. His handle is unique name, unique spelled without the UE at the end. And yeah, it wasn't that far back, I don't think. Anyway, I'm going to have to check and see, because I'm almost positive we recorded it. And I would love to share it with y'all, because I think it's just super valuable. It's just one of these philosophies where if you were to understand it and apply it, you'd have so fewer problems with components bumping into it. I'm calling them components loosely, but encapsulated UI collection of elements bumping into each other in the wrong ways. Anyway, padding top, we could probably just set that to 0. His rule of thumb, he put it really elegantly. It was something like margin should only be defined by a component to its children, or to like a padding margin. I don't remember whether it's margin or padding, but basically it was just a rule by which you could ensure that if you set the width of something, it didn't bump other things out of their place, but it still gave you the visual appearance that you wanted. Okay, with that, all right, this is looking pretty good. It's not perfect. There's something I don't quite like about it from the way it was before, but I mean, this is about as good as it's going to get right now. And then just as a good measure here, let's go ahead and actually try it out. And make sure that everything still works from the perspective of, yep, cool. Oh, this was one other nit that I had. I'm going to go ahead and change the category real quick. That's the last thing I'm going to change. I'm going to go ahead and add this. Diff it. Wait, did we make any changes to app? Oh. Huh, that's weird. Didn't I just... Ah, okay. We're going to call this feature, not so much white space. Actually, I don't know if that's a feature as much as that's a chore. Maybe now there's not enough white space, but whatever. And then bugfix. Don't overwrite empty fields when the user immediately on delete. I want to write this a different way. Give the user a chance to fill empty summary. And then last thing, super easy. I've got a change me in here. Oh, I don't think I need this example anymore either. I think this is safe to remove. Well, almost. I'm going to leave that in there for now because it's got a couple things in there. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put the category web development as the default category. I think that's fair. Oops. And probably put that in this one too. There we are. Excellent. Let's change default category to web development. We'll see if that becomes annoying or not. If it does, I'll change it. Oh, and we're in the Beyond branch? Interesting. So I need to say push this to Beyond main. So the one thing I think I will do before I go then is just finish the switch to the new one. So let me go get checkout main, get rebase Beyond, get push Beyond. And then we're going to do a really weird thing is I'm going to go to Beyond github.com/Beyond Code Bootcamp. Bliss. And I'm going to delete this. And I'm going to move the fork over. And this hopefully won't have dire negative consequences. We will find out momentarily. But I'm going to open up both of these. I'm going to sync them up. And that's the same. Yep. And this is bliss.js.org. So that's the same there. And that's all updated. Sweet. So I think these two are identical. And I don't think there were any issues or any information we want to track here, except for the fact that we were moving it. So I'm going to go into settings and I'm going to delete this Mojanker. And then I'm going to move the other one over. So delete this repository. Yeah, we're going to do it. Okay, and now that's done. And then immediately we're going to go over here. Whoops, no, not this one. This one. We're going to go over here, and then we're going to transfer this to Beyond Code. Transfer it. Beyond Code Bootcamp. CoolAge86/Bliss. Okay, and now all the redirects and everything and all should work as I expect it to. So let's go ahead and make sure that that is correct. Let's see if this is still here. Yeah, 404 for a little bit. It's probably going to take it a few minutes. What I might need to do is I'm going to here. Let me go check and see if we got any more comments. None so far. Okay. So I'm going to do get remote -v get rename origin CoolAge86 of get remote rename get remote rename Beyond Code origin get log. Let's see. I'm going to copy this one. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to go find, we're going to take it way back. Okay, get reset -- hard to this, get push force origin main, get reset to this, sleep 5, get push origin main. Okay. All right. I think that that should kick off the CNAME process and all the other ditties. So it might take 5 or 10 minutes to update, but after that we should be good. Anyway, I think that is all for tonight. So the refactor we will have to save for tomorrow. And I don't need the beyond branch anymore. In fact, these two should not be different at all. What? They are. Huh? I'm so confused. Oh. There we go. It was the changes that were created as part of not doing the second reset or reset hard. That's what we were seeing there. Yeah, so now I should be able to delete the branch beyond. Whoops, get branch -d. There we go. Okay, and then I can take those couple items out of the to-do. Well, I can just delete the to-do file here. We're all good. And then let's wait a second and see if this comes back. And there we are. Perfection. All right. So let's go ahead and get rid of this. Oh, title. Why is it? The title should always show up as at least undefined. So one more bug. Untitled. Untitled. There we go. Untitled. Yeah. Okay. So I might want to take this function and say we'll just redo that row, and then I can reduce the possibility of error. So I might say how might I do this? And also the template. Where's the template at? List TMPL. All right. And then if I want to replace that row, how could I replace that row? Let's see if I just want to focus on the one row. When you get back, TMPL from the list item, and then items equals items.join. Not quite clear on how I'd replace just the one. Can you replace outer HTML on something? Let's try this out real quick. So let's say I select the H3 here. H3. Okay, what if I do outer HTML equals H4? This will be really interesting to see if this works. Did it work? See, I don't think that works. Maybe I'm not looking at the right one. Oh, maybe it does work. That's beautiful. That's wonderful. Let's see. Oh, wow. That's absolutely astonishing. So, okay. What should I call this function? gen TPL maybe, or let's see. This would not be. This would be a write encode parse generate. What is the word I'm looking for? It's like generate. Something the TPL string. We're going to something it. That's what we're going to do. Of course. Serialize? Maybe that's what I was looking for, but not the right word. I guess we're going to template the template. Like, let's just call it template. Sure, why not? And then why wouldn't we just throw it on here? Post.template equals function. Will it work? If it fits, it ships. Looks like it'll work. So we just need to map post template render. Would that be the right term? Do we have a render function already? No, we don't. Cool. Whoops, whoops. Hold on. Yeah, let's do that. That's a better term to use because it's not overloaded. Less likely to get confused here. Template. Template, template, template. No, render. Render. Render, render. Okay. That's cool. And then, let's see. What else? All right, so one, two, three. Is this the one? So here, what I might want to do is say the outer text of the row. Let's just comment that out for a second. We're gonna take the row, which I guess we could just do it this way, and we're gonna say outer text, no, outer HTML is equal to post.render and then the post. Yeah, let's see how that fares. So what if we just get rid of everything here? Something's not going right. Cannot read property closest of null. Okay, maybe, what is it rendering? Let me go check that real quick. Maybe it should be inner HTML. Items is going to be the body. So this should have the TR inside of it if I'm not incorrect. List TMPL. JS row, outer HTML. So that should include the row. So let me consider this again. Render cell.closest row. Cell has these IDs. Okay, console.log. What do we get when we render? Okay, everything's good. Hunky-dory. Get rid of you. Get rid of you. Reload. Happy as a clam. All right. Delete, delete, delete. Cannot read closest of null. Render has a tr. JS row. So what's the problem here? Cell that has this UUID. Okay, where is, oh, value equals object, object. Okay. Okay, let's figure that one out because that's a real problem. Render. Where are you at, render? So, oh, render should take, okay, got it. Got it, got it, got it. So render should take the UUID. Okay, cool. I'm on board. Why is it not updating now? Okay. Cannot read property closest of null, but why not? What is so hard to find about this here value equals? Let me try it out myself. So we're going to do input value, value equals this. How strange that we wouldn't find that. Well, let's find inputs with a value. We should find plenty of things. Again, with the object object. Why would we have the object object? Let us consider this. Render. Oh, that's why. Because what we're logging and what we're passing in are different. Our good old friend, the variable. All right, so we get some description here. It's untitled. Get a title. Great. Love it. Excellent. Let's just get rid of that console.log and call it good. See if there's any logs in here I need to burn. .log. Nope. Okay, get diff. Oh, and I do want to get rid of that comment. That was a junk comment. So h3 to the row. No, I don't need that anymore either. And I essentially have now done this, so I can get rid of that comment. All right, I like it. Getting rid of comments of to-dos, excellent. Cool, cool. All right, git add bugfix. Show untitled when there is no title. All right, cool beans. So let's see. I'm going to refactor, and then I got to think about what the next steps are going to be after that. But I'm not really ready to think about them right now. But one thing I'm thinking, I'm wondering how it might be possible, like some things I'm wondering about, how to store images. And I'm also, I know we could store images in the post itself if they're small enough. And that's actually kind of appealing to me, that the image would be in the HTML as a data URL. I kind of like that idea. That's one way we could store images. But before we could do that, we'd have to implement the debouncing, because that would mean that it would take a lot longer to do, and it might make editing awkward if you have to scroll through, 300 kilobytes of an image to get to the next line. So that could be an awkward thing that I don't think would be really user-friendly. And another thing is how to sync this so that I could have my list of drafts in multiple places. And I think that just doing a GitHub login and then maybe have the ability to save it to a gist, but then I don't know how I would find the gist. I guess I could use a search API, but basically store each of these in a gist and then have the delimiter maybe be the file name, or not the delimiter. Maybe they're in one gist and there's a delimiter, or maybe they're in multiple files, but something like that where you log in with GitHub and that can do the storage, because I don't want to incur any cost. And ultimately what I want to do is have this be a desktop app where if you want to host your own blog yourself, you could do it from a computer that you leave on at home. That's a thing I'm big on. Anyway, as you can tell, my energy level is going down a little bit. I am a little bit tired. I need to get myself some sleep. I feel like this was great progress, and I'm really glad that those of you that tuned in. I hope to see you again. If you liked this, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Subscribe. Just make sure to hit the personalized notifications button on the bell so that you get the code stuff, unless you also want the game stuff and the other things. Check down the doobly-doo for relevant links and whatnot that I will have added after the fact, and like that one to the Explore GitHub Actions. I'm going to put that in there right now. And with that all said, I will catch you later. Have the best night ever. Adios. I posted the Explore GitHub Actions link. And now I'm going to hit the turn off screen button. Going to do it. Don't make me.